Your first 30 days of being a new leader will go faster than you think. And if you spend the time trying to prove you deserve the job instead of learning, you'll spend the next 6 months recovering from what you could have caught in month 1. Because here's what happens. Most new managers swing one of 2 ways. Some new managers go all in on the goal. They walk in day 1 with a plan, they start making changes, they're driving results. And a few months later, they've got the numbers, but no one's following them. On the other side, others go all in on the people. They want everyone to like them, they're careful not to ruffle any feathers, they're trying to earn trust. And yeah, they're likable, but they're ineffective. Both extremes on this pendulum miss the point. Leadership is getting results through people. You need to know what you're driving towards, and you need to know your team well enough to see how they'll get you there. There's a way to start off on the right foot, and it starts with the right mindset. Hi, I'm Jen Arnold, and I help new leaders navigate their first people management role. As a new leader, there's a mindset shift you have to make as you're walking into your new role, or you'll be behind no matter which side of the pendulum you lean towards. When something goes wrong, your team's not delivering, people aren't listening to you, a deadline gets missed, your instinct is just to push harder. Repeat the same message, but louder. Assume the problem is just compliance. They don't want to listen to you. They don't believe in your authority. Maybe you assume you already know. Now, I just saw this in my training Made to Lead with one participant. One leader kept repeating the same instruction over and over, but nothing changed. Another leader couldn't get people to listen to her, so she decided she wanted to write a harsh email. Both of them were doing more of what wasn't working, and neither one got curious about what was actually behind the resistance. Because the instinct when you're new is to prove you can handle it. And it's that proving yourself energy that kills curiosity. You stop asking, what's going on here? And start deciding, I already know what's going on here. I want you to assume one thing walking into your new role. You know almost nothing. You have only seen your perspective up until this point. And the beautiful thing about this is you're not supposed to know. So assume you don't and get curious. Everything in your first 30 days depends on that mindset. All right, so quick caveat here. I kept this video intentionally simple. In your first 30 days, you're going to have a flood of information coming at you. You're going to be learning new systems, meeting new people, and you're going to be putting pressure on yourself to succeed. I want you to keep these 4 moves handy when you get lost in the overwhelm that you're going to have in your first 30 days. All right, your first move is clarifying what your boss actually expects from you. Not the formal job description, not what your predecessor did, not what you think you should be doing, but what does success look like for you in this role 90 days from now? Most new managers never ask this. They just assume. And because they assume, they're either chasing the wrong goals or they're making it up as they go. So here are 4 questions to ask your boss in the first 30 days. What does success look like in this role? What are the top priorities for me to accomplish in my first 90 days? Are there any dynamics I should be aware of? How do you prefer to communicate? And how often do you want updates on my progress? Ask them directly and write the answers down. You may have a boss that constantly shifts priorities, so keep a record of this conversation so you can come back to it. Because if you don't know what you're being measured against, you can't prioritize. All right, move number 2. Connect with your people before you change anything. Meet every person on your team one-on-one. Not to evaluate them, not to announce any big changes, but to get to know them and to understand what they're working on. Here's a thing to remember. Don't commit to any changes in these meetings. Most new managers will walk in and start making promises or announce changes in the first week. Okay, don't do that. Your job right now is to listen, not to fix. And here are some questions you can ask your team. First, what's working well? Secondly, what do you wish would change? Third, what's one thing you love that you don't want me to mess up? Hat tip to Laura Martin for that one. Fourth, what do you want or need from me in the next 30 days? That last question tells you whether that person needs structure, autonomy, or visibility, and that's the data you need to lead them well. It's taking that curiosity mindset downward to your team. I skipped that step in the past and I had to learn the hard way it's not the way to go. In my second leadership role, I went all in on the goal. I got a plan, I was driving results, and I was doing what got me promoted in the first place. Unfortunately, I got demoted. Because I was so focused on proving I could deliver, I never got curious about the people I was leading. I swung that pendulum way too hard on the goal side, and it cost me. All right, your third move is to set clear expectations. Expectations that are firm, but flexible. So this is where a lot of new leaders fall off the pendulum on the other side. The ones who over-indexed on goals, they become that hard ass who lays down the law on day one. On the other side, the ones who over-indexed on people become that nice leader who never sets any expectations because they don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Neither of these work. Instead, be clear about what you expect and make it explicit. Things like, I expect you to respond to emails within 24 hours. I expect you to tell me if you have questions or need support. I want to know if you're running into any problems, so don't keep them from me. I don't want to get blindsided. Tell me what's going on. That's clear. That's not controlling. That's not micromanaging. That's giving your team a framework they can operate on. You can always adjust later. So if you start firm, you can loosen it up, but you can't tighten expectations you never set. Start clear and then loosen them if you need to. Not the other way around. And if you do find yourself trying to manage other people's emotions, whether that's your peers' skepticism, your boss's hurt feelings, your prior team's problems, you're not setting expectations for your team. You're trying to manage other people's emotions. And let me tell you an example of how that played out with a client that I coach. I had a client who got promoted over her former boss, and she was so worried about his hurt feelings, so focused on managing his emotions, that she couldn't focus on her actual role. She was people-pleasing, not leading. Curiosity means asking, what does this person actually need from me right now? Not, how do I keep them comfortable? If you're in your first leadership role and this is resonating, hit subscribe. I drop new videos every week with practical frameworks just like this, specifically for new managers. After 30 days of doing these 3 things, clarifying expectations from above, connecting with your team below, setting your own expectations clearly, you should have enough to compile one document. And this document can include your objectives, what you're actually responsible for delivering, your blockers, what's standing in the way that you can now name specifically, your team's strengths and coaching opportunities, who's strong where and who may need a little extra support, who you need to connect with, stakeholders, peers, anyone critical to your success that you didn't know about on day one. That document becomes your plan, not the plan you guessed at day one, but the one that you earned by listening first. You can go to your boss, report back, and ask them any clarifying questions or connections that you may need to different people across the organization. Ultimately, the first 30 days aren't about proving you belong, that you deserve the role. They're about learning where you are. You don't have to choose between results and relationships. You just have to choose curiosity over assuming. And that's how you stop that pendulum from swinging too far in one way or the other and actually start leading. That first month, it goes fast. And the pressure to have it all figured out by week 2 or 3 is real. I know because I felt it. If you don't take the time to listen before you act, you're going to spend the next 6 months recovering from those decisions when you didn't have the information to make them. You were promoted because someone believed you could do it. You don't have to prove it in 30 days. You have to learn what's actually needed and then lead toward that. If this helped you, subscribe. I publish new videos each week with practical leadership guidance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.